Now, it's that time of the year when pupils in inland provinces have to swap gaming consoles for books. But as of Friday, over 1,400 pupils in Gauteng were still not accommodated at schools. What progress has been made since then? Well, inspecting the reopening of schools in Randfontein today is Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga. She's visiting the Mulaukano Primary School as it prepares to start the new academic year. Monitoring the adherence to COVID-19 protocols at schools on the minister's itinerary today. And our reporter Mangoba Mchunu joins us now from Randfontein. Mangoba, what are some of the biggest difficulties facing teachers and pupils on opening day?
Well, certainly you know that one of the issues that schools have to ensure is the issue of COVID-19. Of course, we're still under alert level 1 of those lockdown regulations, which means that most of those regulations, the wearing of masks, the sanitization and the checking and the general screening of pupils still has to continue here in these particular schools. But also the issue around social distancing in some of the classrooms, that has still to be maintained. And so that's what we're seeing here this morning. We did see quite a number of pupils at the previous school that were in coming there and practicing social distance and also being sanitized and screened for COVID-19. So those measures are still pretty much in place, and the schools are having to enforce those measures to ensure that they protect the learners from COVID-19. But I've got the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, just right here next to me. Thank you, Minister, for your time. Let's start here. You've been to one of the schools. This is the second school that you're in now. Are you happy with what you're seeing so far?
So far, so good, Mangoba. I just think our schools, as you just correctly indicated, are still really practicing the COVID-19 protocols to the latter, because we still have the challenges. Schools, we want them to day one start teaching effectively, and you can see that learners are now settled. The principals and teachers would have prepared to receive learners, so it is quite stable. But also quite a number of these indicators, your governance, the school governing bodies are here in terms of security. So outside, the committee is helping us patrol and make sure that it keeps the schools safe. And because we do want to look at issues of safety, the curriculum, they are ready, they've received books, which means they collected books by yesterday. So the 9 indicators that we give to schools from the 2 schools have been adhered to.
You did speak, Minister, about the challenges that are there. Of course, every time when you open schools, there are a bit of those hiccups that you see here and there. Are there any that have been reported to you by the various provinces?
No, there are. With our school readiness, we start the process from September to identify what will be the challenges for the next year. Infrastructure continues to be a big problem. I mean, the school we went to, they don't have basic facilities like your staff rooms. These are old schools where there were no staff rooms. So we've not been able as government to go back and provide those facilities. There are no school halls. The buildings are, the school I come from is about 67 years old. The buildings are falling apart. So infrastructure continues to be a problem. And the school we came from already, it's a popular school. Parents, even if you say the school is full to capacity, want their children at that school. So we still have your placements vis-a-vis parental choices. We still have some of the problems that we reported. But in Gauteng, especially the 2 schools we come from, some of the challenges that we have in other areas are not here. So here it's mainly infrastructure and, unfortunately, also placements.
Let's talk about that issue, Minister, the issue of placements. Of course, there has been an issue that has been in the news in recent days with many parents saying that they're not getting spaces for their children. What reports are you getting from the province in terms of how far we are with regards to the issue of admissions and late admissions?
Now, it's a moving target. We collect reports, statistics every day, and especially today because it's day 1. For the inland provinces, today we will get a sense of where there are gaps. Because parents sometimes apply, they are in Limpopo, apply, we give them a space here, they can't take it up, maybe then it becomes a vacancy for us. So between today and Friday, provinces, when kids are now all settled, principals will be able to give us returns to say I have 10 more spaces, and then we'll be able to place those that have not been placed. We appeal to parents, especially for grade 1 and grade 8, not to go to schools, because schools have to settle down. Schools will report to districts. You see, Gauteng, unfortunately, with their centralized ICT data collection for placements, then they have all the information centralized at either district or provincial level. And that's where they can be able to identify gaps and begin to redirect learners that have not been placed. So by Friday, we'll have a sense of what are the ongoing challenges and how do we mitigate against them, giving ourselves 10 days. But if not, like last year, until about March, in some instances, Gauteng had not been able to place learners. But we will do all we can within our powers to make sure that as soon as possible, we place learners. Parents are anxious, kids are very anxious. I mean, even phone, a parent is crying. So they're very anxious about their kids not even enjoying day one of schooling. So we're dealing with it, and provinces give us reports on a daily basis.
Let me ask you this, Minister, because, this is also an issue of concern. We've seen the past 2 years, COVID-19, what it has done to the education system. It has been quite a few frustrating 2 years for pupils alike, as well as the basic education department. But are you expecting things to be better this year? Are you expecting perhaps to see classes returning to normal?
That's what we wish for. COVID is unraveling even the work that we have done in the past. So it's reversing. We're not moving forward in many respects. Some of the areas that we had prioritized as this current administration are struggling. We had said we're going to roll out robotics, and we're going to, the president, if you recall, he had said we must give laptops to all children in the primary schools. The money has had to be shifted to COVID to buy masks and to employ sanitizers or assess, give young people a chance to come and help us in school. So we've been diverted in many other ways. But painful, it's also the learning losses. Our own monitoring and the NECT, which is our partner, have been giving us reports to say at least in most schools, 40% of learning time has been lost. In some instances, it's even more. And now with the delays, it's 2020, we've lost 40%, 2021 we lost another 40%, so which means the grade 12s of this year have had limited grade 10, limited grade 11. Now we expect them to write the full exam. Because they're going to write the full exam, we can't reverse papers. The papers have long been set, so they have to write what would have been assumed to be a normal schooling 2 years back, and which is not the case. So it is really disturbing, it's unsettling and worrying.
Thank you very much, Minister. I have to hold it there due to time. The Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, speaking to us there, of course, about the preparedness of the schools here. She's visited 2 of the schools here in the West Rand just to see for herself how things are going. And I can say that from what we saw this morning, it seems that most of the schools are prepared to accept learners. We've seen those measures also being enforced to ensure compliance to COVID-19 regulations.
Manqoba, thank you. And she spoke there of the kids who are missing out on the opportunity of having their first day of school. You've got to feel for those parents and those kids. Manqoba Mqunu is out in Randfontein.